Welcome home, Bitcoin truth seekers. All right, the market is a mix of green and red today, probably more red than green. Bitcoin down over 3% last 24 hours, coming in at 6,246. That is not bad because we are still above the 6,200 level, and also we're above that $6,000 psychological level. So Bitcoin down a bit, but still in a good spot. All right. Bitcoin exchanges see massive surge in new users this month. So for the month of March, last month, since today is April 1st, 2020, 8:40 a.m. here in the Arizona desert, Kraken last month saw an 83% increase in users. So are people moving towards crypto, towards Bitcoin as sound money during times of global uncertainty? Well, it looks that way on the big exchanges, especially Kraken. And what else are they doing? I've seen a good number of articles about moving towards hardware storage, cold storage. Get that Bitcoin off the exchanges. The world is too crazy. It's never been a good idea, and now it's a really bad one to have your Bitcoin on exchanges. And it does look like people are picking up on that. So, of course, your hardcore traders and people who are more savvy have probably been using hardware devices to store their Bitcoin for a long time. But grandma who's got an auto buy set up every week or month on Coinbase, maybe she's not thinking of it, but you know what, now she is. Anyhow, Ledger tends to be the standard. They work very, very well. I like Trezor ones, the older ones, very, very well because the UI is a little bit easier to use. Anyway, get a hardware device, get your crypto off of the exchanges if you keep it there, unless you're actively trading it. With that said, in the show notes you will see both a link to this article, and right up top, a link to Amazon for the Trezor one. If you buy it, I make a dime. So with that said, gold on the daily and dollar on the daily. So dollar up top, gold here on the bottom. On these daily charts, what I would notice, both have had some turbulent times recently. Dollar on top, gold on the bottom. But what you might want to note is, of course, you got your initial dump with the market, then you got a pump. Anyway, just note that on the daily recently, we are above the 200 moving average on both these after a slight dip beneath for both. And now we have this beautiful little green arrow, a bit of an uptrend, I believe, happening for both of these. So US dollar and gold looking good. When traders are fearful, they go to gold. When they're panicked, when they're terrified, they go to cash. So with that said, I think things are starting to level out. The world's finding a bit of sanity, but still people are moving towards Bitcoin as a safe haven asset and get it on a hardware device and off the exchanges. With that said, the Dow Jones on top, S&P in the middle, and Russell on the bottom. On the daily charts, they all have positive MACDs, and that beautiful green arrow, they're both looking at an uptrend, except for maybe the Russell 2000, which tends to be a bit more temperamental than the larger Dow and S&P. But in general, we're looking good with America's big indices. Rockin'. All right, Tether into Bitcoin last 24 hours, 4 billion, not bad. Volume across the top exchanges over the last 24 hours is 836 million. All right, that's not too rocking. I'd love to see about 5 or 6 or more, billion Tether into Bitcoin recently, and I'd rather see that over 1 billion in volume, but that's fine. These are still numbers we couldn't have dreamed of not long ago. So it's Wednesday. Action is still happening in the Bitcoin market for sure. On Binance, where most of that volume is, 469 million of it, we can see the sentiment is definitely towards shorts. So long 38%, short 61%. But I want to point something out. If we look here on the daily, let me actually dump this little chart. Let me get rid of this and that. Okay, let's just look at the daily here. All right. The MACD is positive on the daily. Directional index is somewhat negative actually, but still, MACD looking positive on the daily. That does create a lot of trader confidence in Bitcoin. But what would create, of course, a bit more confidence would be if we get above the 200 moving average. So here's the deal. I know that sentiment right now in the short time frame might be negative, might be towards the short side of things. We have a positive MACD in the daily. We do have an uptrend. I mean, you can kind of look here and you can see there is on the daily, an upwards channel going on. And I think that is a positive thing. And really, how far do we have to go, as far as percent-wise, to get above the 200 moving average on the daily? Well, about 30%. But that may seem a little bit discouraging, but we're heading that way. And what I want to, point out is, look at, some of these swings that we've had not too long ago. We had, a dump, 19%. We had a pump, 20-some percent. And so really, this dump here that got us below the 200 moving average, oh yeah, it's pretty darn good. But we're already on a strong upwards channel, heading back above that 200 moving average, also with a positive MACD. So basically, I would just say, on the daily chart, I am, I am just watching this, beautiful upwards channel. I think it's going to continue to play out. And that 200 moving average on the daily may seem far away, but it's really not. The whales could get us there in a day. And why I'm not shorting, even though that is the sentiment on Binance right now, where the big dollars are, I think, as far as longs and shorts, why I'm not is, let's look at the 45-minute chart here. Okay, 45-minute chart, we have a negative MACD, as you can see. But of course, we also have a very negative directional index, and we are below the 200 moving average on this short time frame of the 45-minute chart. And you can definitely see, maybe a bit of a downwards channel, you could say here. But why I'm not sweating it, to be honest with you, is we are really in whale manipulation season here. Look at these crazy moves that we're seeing recently on the 45-minute chart. A 6% dump. Now, what do we see right here? A 5% pump. I would say, don't be whale food. I know sentiment right now is short, and if you feel like doing that, that is just fine. If you're a hodler, you don't even care. But the whales tend to do the opposite of what TA says. They tend to do the opposite of what sentiment is, and right now, TA might say we're below the 200 moving average on the 45-minute chart, and MACD is negative. DI, directional index, is negative, a bit of a downwards channel. Maybe I should short since we're under the 200 moving average. Well, let's look at the 2-hour chart real quick here. 2-hour chart's still above the 200 moving average, and it's heading towards it, so we'll see what happens. MACD, the 2-hour chart is definitely trending very, very negative. So, to me, it's kind of looking like especially if on the 2-hour chart we get below this 200 moving average. Let's look at the hour chart and see how we're doing. Are we below? Now we're below on the hourly too. Here's the deal. I know sentiment is short right now, but my friends, Bitcoin truth seekers, the whales are watching, and they can manipulate the crap out of this 5 or 6 or 10%, no problem. And I just think with all this negative sentiment, don't be whale food. Myself, I'm not financial advice, entertainment purposes only, of course, but me personally, my take is I'm not shorting. I'm just going to hang tight, because with the manipulation we're seeing right now in these short time frames, jumping 5% or more up and down, I think the only person who knows the next move is the whales and not necessarily TA. So TA would say maybe time to short, but I ain't doing it, because really a lost sat today, if your short doesn't go well, is a lot more money in the future than it is today. So keep those stats. Sats, most important thing is make sats, stack sats, and chill. Right now, I know it's looking kind of towards the shorts, but I just think the whales are lurking. I am hanging tight. I know Bitcoin's down a few percent recently, looking crappy on the short time frame. But if we do look at the daily time frame, we are positive MACD. And like I said, I, myself personally, I see a positive upwards channel, forming here. And that's pretty darn rocking. I'll take it. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit on the daily. And what I'm really looking forward to is making it over the 200 on the daily.